Imagine a place so dark you can't see the nose on your face. Eyes open or closed, it's all the same. Because the sun never shines there. Up ahead, you see a light. When you creep in to investigate, a blue light flits around you. I could watch this forever, you think. But you can't, because the mouth of an anglerfish has just sprung open and eaten you alive. You are just one of many creatures at the bottom of the ocean who learned too late to appreciate the power of bioluminescence. Its ability to glow green helps it attract a mate on a warm summer night. But it's just one of many living things that can glow. The railroad worm, Phryxothrix hirtus, can light up its body in two colors, red and green. Would you eat something that looks like an airport runway? Neither would any sensible predator. The flashing lights keep the worm safe. Then there's the deep-sea shrimp, Acanthophyra purpurea. When it feels threatened, it spews a cloud of glowing goo from its mouth. Who doesn't run the other way when they've just been puked on? Plus, that puke attracts bigger predators who want to eat the shrimp's anglerfish moments before it tried to eat you. That glowing bait on top of its head? It comes from a pocket of skin called the esca. The esca holds bioluminescent bacteria. The anglerfish can't glow there by itself, so it holds a sac of glowing bacteria instead. Remember the firefly? It can actually make itself glow. Inside its lantern are two chemicals, a luciferin and a luciferase. When firefly luciferase and luciferin mix together in the presence of oxygen and fuel for the cell called ATP, the chemical reaction gives off energy in the form of light. Once scientists figured out how the firefly creates its luciferase and luciferin, they used genetic engineering to make this light-producing reaction occur inside other living things that can't glow. For example, they inserted the genes, or instructions, for a cell to create firefly luciferase and luciferin into a tobacco plant. Once there, the tobacco plant followed the instructions slipped into its DNA and lit up like a Christmas tree. Fades out as the chemicals inside get used up. Bioluminescent reactions use replenishable resources. That's one reason engineers are trying to develop bioluminescent trees. Just think, if planted on the side of highways, they could light the way using only oxygen and other freely available clean resources to run.
Life in the deep sea is unique for a reason. Here, pressure is immense, waters are cold, and below 3,300 feet down, there is no sunlight. Creatures that live beyond the twilight zone spend their lives in an expanse of darkness. But although there may be no sunlight in the deep sea, many organisms have used this feature to their advantage, developing a remarkable adaptation in order to communicate with others, hunt, and confuse predators. These twinkling, flashing, pulsating lights are caused by the process of bioluminescence, the result of a chemical reaction that produces light energy within the body of an organism. It is a common feature of many marine organisms, a single adaptation uniting vastly different creatures, from bacteria and algae to cephalopods and sharks. There are 1,500 species of fish alone that are able to luminesce. And the fact that so many different organisms have this ability is evidence of convergent evolution, in which bioluminescence has evolved multiple times on at least 40 separate occasions. This suggests that down in the deep sea, it is a highly beneficial adaptation to have, contributing to the success of organisms by allowing them to communicate, find a mate, and attract prey, among other useful behaviors. More than half of the ocean's jellyfish and ctenophore species produce bioluminescence in some form. This comb jelly moves by beating its shimmering hair-like cilia and can produce bright flashes to startle predators. Their relatives, siphonophores, release glowing particles into the water to confuse the predator. One particular siphonophore variety, known as Irena sirena, lures its prey by wiggling glowing bioluminescent lures. The spindle-shaped body of the firefly squid is covered in bioluminescent organs called photophores that emit a blue-green light. In the case of these shimmering cephalopods, they utilize the adaptation to attract prey such as small fish down in the gloomy mesopelagic zone. But they also demonstrate another evolutionary phenomenon: counter-illumination, a form of camouflage in which they light up in varying intensities to match the ambient light around them. For example, they glow brighter as they ascend to shallower waters at night. The colour they emit matches the faint glow of moonlight from the surface, meaning they can blend in with their surroundings whether it is dark or light, and hide themselves from predators. In much of the open ocean, there is no concealment, so animals must adapt to be able to hide in the wide open. This unique skill is helped by the fact that firefly squid are the only cephalopods to see in colour, so they are able to distinguish between the ambient light and their own bioluminescence. Firefly squid gather at the surface in large numbers from March until May during their spawning season. Here at Toyama Bay in Japan, they bathe the beaches in an eerie blue glow, lighting up particularly bright in order to attract a mate. However, not all bioluminescent creatures are able to produce their own light themselves. A common example of this is the case of the female anglerfish. Unlike some creatures, they rely on a symbiosis with bioluminescent bacteria called Photobacterium, which move into the anglerfish's esker or lure, potentially by entering through a pore that develops in adult anglerfish. The fish provides protection for the bacteria. In exchange, the bacterial symbiont produces the bioluminescent glow that the anglerfish could not otherwise produce. Thus, we find these fish displaying glowing bacteria-filled orbs that protrude from their bodies, which lead wandering prey astray with eerie lights towards their doom, much like the mythological will-o'-the-wisp. Finding a mate can be hard in the vast, dark depths, so the far smaller male anglerfish also makes use of the luminous bacteria within the females as a means of locating them in the expanse of the deep sea. In most cases, however, an organism itself will contain the chemicals needed to luminesce. In order for bioluminescence to occur, a species must contain a molecule called luciferin. When luciferin reacts with oxygen, it produces light. Organisms are able to regulate their chemistry in order to control when they light up, as well as how bright and what colour. This is useful, as different situations will benefit from differences in the way the light is expressed. This is the green bomber worm, a tiny polycate worm that uses light to startle predators by dropping a bioluminescent bomb, exploding its light-producing organs when it feels threatened. One common feature that is present in almost all bioluminescent organisms is the colour of their lights. Blue. But it isn't mere coincidence that all these creatures have evolved to emit the same colour light. It is because blue light travels furthest in water with its intermediate wavelength. Visible lights with very long wavelengths, like red, or very short wavelengths, are absorbed faster and filtered out. The very same phenomenon is responsible for the ocean appearing blue. Some creatures can use this feature of differently coloured light to their advantage, like the bloody belly comb jelly, which lights up red to make itself invisible to predators. Furthermore, the fact that most bioluminescence is blue in the deep sea is linked to the vision of deep sea organisms, many of which do not have colour vision, but rather they have a single blue-sensitive visual pigment. Having eyes that are highly sensitive to blue light is useful for detecting luminous prey as well as potential mates. This explains the large eyes found in many deep-sea creatures, like the barrel eye, an adaptation that enables them to absorb as much light as possible. Overall, bioluminescence is an adaptation that drives many of the processes in the deep sea, for it is used by many creatures flashing and glowing for many different reasons. Used for repelling predators, luring prey, and seducing potential mates, bioluminescence underpins a coruscating dance of life, death, and sex in the deep sea. Thanks for watching.